Sego Sego Guego. Hi, everybody. If you've got black walnuts around your house, you've probably noticed the nuts falling to the ground over the past few weeks. Today, I'm going to show you how you can use those fresh walnuts to make your very own natural dye. The first thing to do is gather your walnuts. You'll want about 1 walnut for every 20 grams of fabric you're planning to dye. They should be firm and green, but slightly springy when you push them. You can either harvest them by shaking the tree branches and letting them fall, though make sure you're wearing a hard hat or some sort of protection if you're going to do that. Otherwise, you can gather them from the ground, which is what I did with these, and you can see the squirrel beat me to some of them. You can harvest them in advance and freeze them for use, or use them immediately. Once they've started to dry or turn black, they can still be used for dye, but you won't get as strong of a dye out of it. And the first step is to soak them. These ones have been soaking for a couple of days, and you can see the water has started to turn kind of a nice tea color. So the next step is to kind of bring these to a boil slowly. I'm just going to put my heat on medium-low, and I'll cover this and I'll come back to it a little bit later. Just checking on my walnuts. They've been cooking away for a little while. You can see the water has gotten quite a bit darker, and the nuts themselves have kind of changed, like the green has faded a little bit. So I do want to bring these to a boil, so I'm going to let them continue to warm up, and I'll check on them in a little while. One thing I should have mentioned before is that it's important to use a non-reactive pot. So one that is made of stainless steel or that's coated on the inside is better for this project. And it should be a pot that you're not planning to use for cooking in the future. This has been boiling for about an hour now. You can see how dark the liquid has gotten, and the walnuts are starting to kind of fall apart. The hulls are coming off in pieces. So I'm going to let it boil for about another half an hour, and then I'm going to let it cool off a bit before straining it into another pot. The dye bath is finished now. You can see how dark it is. It's almost black. I boiled it for about an hour and a half, and then I let it cool down for a bit before I strained it through a metal sieve lined with cheesecloth. It's important to try and get all of the pieces of walnut out, otherwise when you're dyeing your fabric it can cause dark spots or stains. I've got my piece of fabric here that I'm going to be dyeing. It's a scarf, and I've wetted it down and put it in the pot. So I'm going to pour the dye bath over this now. I've now got the scarf in the dye bath. I'm going to bring it up to a simmer and let it go for about 30 minutes. I'm going to keep stirring it so that the color distributes evenly. The scarf has been simmering for about 30 minutes now, and I'm happy with where the color is. So I'm going to turn off the heat and let it sit and cool down for a little while before I rinse it off with clear water. I took the scarf out of the dye bath and I rinsed it in clean water until the water ran clear. And now I am just going to let it dry overnight, and we'll see what it looks like in the morning. Here's my final product compared to the scarf when I started. If you're not a fan of brown, there are different things that you can add to the dye to change the color, and you can just find instructions for those on Google. I also didn't add a mordant, which is something that helps the dye stick to the fibers, because black walnut is supposed to be color fast without one, so I wanted to test out that theory. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial and that you find an opportunity to try out this project for yourselves.